There's something about the live service model that's extremely alluring to publishers, and it's not hard to see what that something is. With live service games, the initial purchase is not the final one players can make. You have microtransactions, battle passes, expansion packs, loot boxes, an in-game store. It's a shareholder's paradise. If you can get a live service game to take off, you've made it. As long as there's a small team of devs doing upkeep on the servers and making more content for suckers, I mean gamers, to buy, then you basically have a constant revenue stream that requires very little resources to keep flowing. That being said, while a successful live service can be extremely profitable, making said live service is extremely expensive. On top of the regular cost that video games take to make nowadays that seems to rise exponentially each year, the aforementioned server upkeep isn't cheap either, and paying employees to continue adding new content racks up the production costs even more. If a live service game fails, the company could potentially lose hundreds of millions of dollars. But if it succeeds, you'll make up all those expenses and then some. In other words, every live service is the ultimate gamble, with potentially hundreds or even thousands of innocent developers' livelihoods on the line. It's all indicative of a fusion of two different phenomena: the sunk cost fallacy and the gambler's fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is something I'm sure we're all painfully aware of, because most gamers are guilty of it as well. According to Oxford, the sunk cost fallacy is the phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they've invested heavily in it, even when it is clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. Meanwhile, the gambler's fallacy is a little more complex, but essentially it's the belief that the more times you fail in a row, the higher your chances are of succeeding on your next try. This is why it feels like publishers have devolved to a shotgun approach of just trying to get as many live services out the door as possible, because at least one of them is sure to be a success, right? And one success is really all they need, because if they can make the next Fortnite or the next Overwatch or the next League of Legends, then that one game will be enough to make up for all the other failures. All that sunk cost will be worth it if we just keep chasing that mythical next big thing. What these companies don't seem to realize is there is no next big thing in the live service field. The gold rush is over. The mainstays are pretty well established at this point, and there's no changing that. The historical failure of Concord is a pretty obvious sign that the market is full. There's no room for any new live services, because the appeal of these sorts of live service games is that they're theoretically infinite. Gamers can keep playing the same game for years, and as long as the devs continue to make more content to keep things fresh, they'll always have something new to come back to. Live services are designed to monopolize your time, and people's time is limited. Most people already have a handful of live services they put their time into, and at this point, they've sunk so much time into them that a new one doesn't really seem worth it. Sinking all this money into more games specifically designed to be played forever is a fool's errand. It's a gamble that can only end in bankruptcy, because if every game is infinite, then none of them are.